Okay, Rhonda, we should be live.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our budget meeting this Tuesday, February the 25th. We'll all bow our heads, please, for a moment of reflection. Thank you. We do have on our agenda, you did get a revised item for 7.3.4.11. Is there anything else anyone wishes to add to the agenda? If not, I need a motion to approve as circulated. Moved by Amanda, second by Andrew. All in favor? Carried. Okay, if you have pecuniary interest, you can declare that now or as we go along in our meeting. We have no items. Oh, I'm sorry. We have one item under our consent agenda. I'm off to a roaring start here. I'm on the wrong date. I can't read. Anyway, we do have the minutes of the last meeting from January 19th. Is there any questions or comments on those minutes? Seeing no questions, we need a motion to that 5.1.1 is set out in the consent agenda for February 25th, 2021. Budget Advisory Committee be received for information. 5.1.1 draft budget advisory minutes January 19th, 2021, and the minutes of January 19th, 2021 Budget Advisory Committee be adopted. Moved by Jerry, second by Carol. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we have no delegations, and then we'll move to reports. And the first report is 7.1.1, reserve report. And Rhonda, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to see everyone. The first report that we have on here for reserves is our annual report to tell council about the situation and balances of our reserves. We've got two attachments. We've got the reserve report that shows the 2020 actuals, and then we have an attachment that shows the 2021 budget for our reserves. And the report basically outlines the basic needs that we have for reserves. Everybody's aware of them. I'll quickly outline the three main ones: to sustain our infrastructure and our assets, to support our operating and capital plans, and then the contingency reserves are to support unplanned events that happen in life. So council, as you recall, approved a plan to support our annual deficit for infrastructure, and that was via the 2019 asset management plan and recommendation. So council has increased their transfer to asset reserves by $56,000 per year. And as a side note to that, you will see on our changes since the last budget was presented to council that we have split out the fire department asset management transfer into the fire department in order to include Perth South in that transfer as well. And I can show you that in the table later in the meeting. Basically, our 2020 year end is estimated at $17,397,940. This is an estimate, but it should be pretty close. There still could be or maybe year-end entries, and those will be added to the schedule. And then the 2021 budget year-end total is $17,131,547. So we're down $266,393, and that's as some projects are getting completed and pulled from reserves, and as we paused a couple of reserve transfers in the 2021 operating budget. So basically, that's the story of our reserves in a nutshell. So if there's any questions on that report, I can take those from you.
Okay. Any questions for Rhonda on our reserves? Seeing no questions, we have a resolution that the report prepared by the treasurer dated February 25th, 2021, entitled Reserve and Reserve Funds be received for information. Moved by Jeremy, second by you. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, next is unfunded capital and township long-term debt. Rhonda?
Yes, this is our annual report and showing our position on our unfunded capital balances and our long-term debt. The unfunded capital is our internal debt, and it's supported by our corporate reserves, and it's paid by future reserves or savings in future budgets. The long-term debt is illustrated on page 17 in the table, and it's comprised nothing to do with property taxation. It's on water and sewer, the main part of it. And then we have tile, drain loans, and municipal drains that we show in our long-term debt, and that's payable from the farmers and those that are connected to the drains. So our position has improved in our unfunded debt as we pay off our internal loans and looking a little better. So it's in good position. If there's any questions on that, I can answer them for you.
Okay, any questions for Rhonda? Carol?
Where's the natural gas funding for Milton? How's that work again? Fill me in.
The natural gas, the only natural gas amount that you will see on the budget is the actual contribution from the township on that project. And that was a donation, and it's $41,000 that you will see as a line item on the operations budget, and it's for a 10-year term. Is that okay? Good.
Okay, anyone else with questions? No? Okay, we have a motion that the Budget Advisory Committee receive the report entitled Unfunded Capital and Township Long-Term Debt dated February 25th, 2021, prepared by the Treasurer for information. Moved by Andrew, second by Amanda. Any more questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, now we're going to move to the PowerPoint. So I won't be able to see everybody during the PowerPoint, so if you have questions, please speak up. If not, Ashley will see your hand waving and she'll let me know too. So Rhonda, you can take it away.
Okay, Wendy's going to run the PowerPoint for us. So I'll wait till she gets it on the screen and then we'll get on with it. Thanks, Wendy. Okay, so starting off with our 2021 capital budget, this is a draft on February 25th. Next slide. Okay, for an outline of the budget premise, this is pretty standard, but we'll go over those as well. For council's information, the ending capital balances are transferred to reserves or unfunded capital. Year-end surplus or deficits are moved to the corporate reserve, and that's pending council direction. Separate project reports are not prepared for regular furniture and fixtures and are normally adjusted by the Consumer Price Index. A portion of the 2020 COVID-19 funding is carried forward into 2021 and will be reconciled and reported to council. Some modernization grant projects are carried forward with some adjustments as noted in the project reports. Carry forward projects from 2020 are included, and in most cases were postponed due to COVID-19. There were no questions submitted by council, so we'll just wait for them after the slides and move on. So this table here lists the budget changes since the draft was circulated in January. So there are a few, but most of them are netting to zero. And the bottom line is that we're in a better position than we were in January, but I'll go through them line by line. The first, the starting levy change after the budget on January 29th that you see in red there. Beside that, we were sitting at 1.067% levy change. So the changes below are cumulative, and you can see the total as we go down the side. So water and sewer, we did a salary split change. So the net there is 0. We moved between sewer and water, and that was done prior to the water and sewer rate calculations and based on work plan. So that kept the levy at 1.067. For one reason, that's under water and sewer rates, not on for property taxation. The next is the corporate split to fire for their share of the asset management plan contribution. That again for the township nets to 0. So that leaves it at 1.067%. And next is an adjustment for the Perth South fire levy. So there's an increase of revenue of 1,849.14. And that's from the current assessment roll information that Perth South provided to Perth East and their share of the amended budget. And that brings the budget slightly lower at 1.045%. Next, we have a fire amendment. We reduced the conferences and training by $10,000 for 2021 only. That reduced training is based on the work plan and the virtual training schedule. So that's 0.93, the levy balance at that point. Fire dispatch services were also removed for $5,000. There's an RFP to be issued in 2022. Therefore, service remains the same for this year. As an adjustment for the conservation authorities, we received the MVCA levy requirement, and it's up $793, which brings it to 0.882%. And then we have an adjustment for the library, and that's adjusting the hours. The hours were left status quo pending organization review, and that's a reduction of $14,365 on the library levy. And the planning, we adjusted the fee revenue. That was based on the CAO report that went to council the last meeting by $10,000, and that's based on an estimate based on 3-year activity and the county's new fee schedule. And then the last change since the last meeting is under waste collection. And again, this one nets to 0. It's a matter of that we're going to be moving some from unfunded over to reserves after some other entries were put through. We didn't need as much in unfunded. So that's it for budget changes, unless there's any questions on those. Okay.
Andrew did have his hand up. Rhonda, Councillor McAlpine.
Andrew?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, thanks very much. I'm just looking at the planning. Is planning break even, or I'm just wondering why there's an increase on that number? Is it a cost recovery? I'm just
What we did for our original
sorry, go ahead.
What we did for our original budget was we based it on the budget prior to the shared services agreement. So once we had the actual fees in, and there's a change now with some of the fees going to the lower tier and upper tier on the services that each of them offer. So we based that on a 3-year average. So as far as the costs netting 0, yes, the county planning services the aim is to net it to 0. The township services also include pro rata or a split on wages for our CBO and our admin staff here, and we include that in our budget, along with office costs, etc. The same as we did prior to the plan before the shared services agreement was in. Teresa, you maybe want to chime in some here as well.
Thanks. Is this a one-time bump or?
Pardon me? Can you repeat the question?
Okay. Sorry, my connection's not that great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So is this just a one-time bump for this, or?
We'll get a better feel of this budget after we get 1 year into the new shared plan services agreement, and we will see. This is an estimate. We could be high, we could be low. It'd be nice if we get 1 year under our belt, and then we'll have it ironed out for next year's budget.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any more questions?
I'm not seeing any, Rhonda.
Okay, thanks. All right, keep going, Rhonda.
Okay, the next slide shows the capital plan summary. This is the table above shows the capital plan at a glance. You can see the 2021 budget column, last year's budget column, and last year's actuals, and then the budget variance. This includes the general and water and wastewater as well. So the revenue for 2021 is up, but that includes ICIP grant funding and fundraising, which was fundraising for the Perth Pavilion. Expenses, there were some projects carried forward from 2021, and 2021 also includes some the ICIP project as well. The revenue fund transfers that were approved in the operating plan in January increased by CPI, and the reserves are dependent, they fluctuate based on unfunded and trust transfers as required for the current year capital projects. That's just to show council on like 6 lines what the budget looks like.
Okay, any questions? Nope, okay,
Sorry, Councillor McAlpine has a question.
okay, Andrew?
So I can see myself now, that's good. So I'm looking at this one, this is water and wastewater. This is the first time I'm looking at the PowerPoint. So we're seeing ICP Perth Pavilion project is on water and wastewater. What's the dollar value for that? Is that the $300,000 difference in the price, or how much is that project worth? And is it just for connections to the, what's the relationship with the Perth Pavilion project in this slide?
There's no relationship of water and sewer to the Perth Pavilion project. This slide, if you read the total title, it says general, which is general taxation, and water and wastewater. So that's the whole corporation. It's all your property taxation projects, all the capital plan, plus your water and sewer. This is the whole shebang in a snapshot.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now we're on to the general government projects. The first one that we have is, can you back up, Wendy? There we go. We're getting it dizzy. We got the asset management project. And this project report is on page 36. And the project cost for this is $24,400. Manager is the treasurer. And that is funded from reserves. And that one we moved to fund with the modernization grant funding that was transferred to the corporate reserve. The project description, it includes GIS reconciliation to the asset registry. There's sinking condition ratings, risk matrix, and financing strategies for the asset software. And we recommend funding from the modernization grant as there's room in the grant as we move some projects over to COVID grant funding, and as well as some projects were reduced and some projects were removed. Council will see a reconciled modernization grant table at the next council meeting that shows the final balance, and the project reports today will outline as well. Is everyone able to see the bottom of the PowerPoint?
No.
Or is it cut off?
It's cut off.
Mine is as well. Maybe we should have done a trial.
I think if you read it, that's probably good. There. Now we can see it.
Okay, that's better. Thanks, Wendy. It was better with the big print, but then the bottom was cut off, so I think that's better. Thank you. Are there any questions on the asset management project? Okay, next. Next, we have Building Betterment Project, and that project report is on page 38. The project cost is $173,000, and that's for Becky's RCS manager. The proposed project funding is $100,000 from the COVID infrastructure grant, and that's pending approval. And we are to get approval. Notice if we are approved, I'm being optimistic, in the spring. And then $73,000 under the modernization grant. And this is for the project approved by council for the hands-free faucets, the motion door opening, and motion lights for Perk, admin building, library, and Shakespeare Hall. Next project under the administration building with the project report on page 40, costs are $42,000, managed by the CAO. And that is funded from $42,000 from the modernization grant funding. And this was added as a project as well to the modernization grant funding. And this is to replace the HVAC at the administration office. And that's coming from, it says coming into modernization because we moved some funding to the COVID grant. Next, we have the council chambers project report on page 42, costing $80,000, managed by the CAO and the clerk, funded by the modernization grant. This project was previously approved by council, and it's to enhance the council agenda management, chambers technology for live streaming, physical setup of chambers for better communication with stakeholders, and provide adequate workspace for council and staff during the meetings. Next, we have the strategic
Rhonda,
plan. Yes.
Councillor Smith has a question.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Thanks. So if by chance, we're still not into the facility this year because of COVID, this project can still move forward next year if it doesn't get done this year?
It is our hope to have all of our modernization grant projects completed in 2021, regardless of whether COVID's going forward or not. That again will depend on some projects for supplies and material availability, but maybe Teresa or Ashley may want to add to those comments as well.
I just reiterate what Rhonda has indicated. This is a project that we had hoped to, it's a carryover as well. And regardless if we are in COVID or not, we would like to have this completed in 2021.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Councillor Hurlick also has a question.
More of a comment, but yeah, no, it is important that we get it up and running. I probably in the last 2 weeks, I've had 3-4 people reach out to me and reminded me that they're watching, and people I don't even know who they are, but they're finding it really interesting, the Zoom meetings, and they're enjoying it. It's actually really nice to see more local involvement with local council. It's beautiful, really. So I just thought I'd add that comment. Thanks.
I don't see any further questions, Rhonda.
Thanks. Next, we have the strategic plan project, and the report's on page 44. The cost is $29,804, managed by the CAO. And the funding for this project is from corporate reserves. And this is projects that will be approved by council to implement the strategic plan in 2021. Next, the joint GHG reduction plan, and with the project report on page 46 with the cost of $9,000 managed by the CAO, funded from the corporate reserves. This project was previously approved by council and included in our capital budget. And it's the joint project with the Perth Partners and Town of St. Mary's in Stratford for shared services of climate change coordinated to December 31st, 21. And the work plan includes presentation, adoption, and implementation of community-wide GHG emission reduction plans. Next, the telephone system project. The majority of this project, as everyone knows, was completed in 2020. And there are extra costs totaling $9,000 that we want to fund for the modernization grant. And this is the new telephone system that was installed at the NIN building, library, and arena in 2020. And this project is for cabling and direct connection to Ethernet jacks. The next capital project is the Community Safety and Wellbeing Project with the report on page 50. This project total is estimated at $50,750 and managed by the clerk. The funding from the modernization grant. And this is a joint project required under the Police Services Act with Stratford, Perth County Municipalities, and St. Mary's. I know Ashley has been working on this project and it's a continuation. Next, we have the computer network system. The project report for this is on page 52, and the cost is $45,000 managed by the treasurer. This is to be funded from the modernization grant. This is to remove the old computers from the network and completing online backup system. There's server replacement and the funding from the modernization grant. Next, we have a financial software upgrade with the project report on page 54. The cost for this project is $11,800. And this one is from our software and IT reserve. And this is an upgrade of accounting software to higher version. It's required by the end of July 2021. And it's very, very critical for our payroll tables to get that in place. And this is a cyclical upgrade required. And there's new features in the release as well. In the motion that we'll be going forward to council, we will be asking for pre-budget approval on that because of the timelines to get this going, this project going. Next, we have some human resources project. They're listed on page 56 in the project report with total costs of $60,404 funded from the modernization grant. And this is an organization structure review and review of services delivered to find internal and eternal efficiencies, $50,404. And also to update the human resources manual and policies. We estimate that at $10,000. Next, we have the records management project. It's the project report on page 58 for a total estimate of $50,000 managed by our clerk, and it's funded from the modernization grant reserve. And this project is software to centralize, standardize, automate, and integrate electronic records management system. It supports long-term preservation and efficient access to records for all departments. It supports paperless workflows and businesses' processes. That's it for general administration, unless there's anybody has questions that they didn't get their hand up for. We'll move on to recreation and culture. The first project here, and I know the picture doesn't reflect the real fence that we're putting up or the railing that we're putting up. That's all I had. It's $25,000 estimate, and the report is on page 60. And this is recommended to be funded from the modernization grant as well. Council has seen the details of this project in 2020, and it's polycarbonate cover for spectator stand railings and funded from the modernization grant. Next is a pickup purchase with a project report on page 65, with the project estimated at $35,000, with our RCS manager managing the project. And it's $35,000 funded from our corporate asset reserve. And that's the purchase of a pickup truck to replace the RCS vehicle and share with Public Works building maintenance coordinator to travel to and from each facility. So that will be a shared asset.
Is that truck 4x4?
The $35,000 quote, Becky, do you want to comment on that? Is that a 4x4?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Next is the Park Pavilion with the project report on page 67. The cost for this project is $436,689, and the funding for this project is $319,689 from the ICIP recreation stream, and that's a provincial and federal grant. And the balance of $117,000 will be from local donations fundraising. So the project description is construction of an outdoor community gathering place with accessible washroom, storage room, kitchenette with server window, and an extension of the existing trail to meet the pavilion area. And next is a carry forward project from for the Newton Park. And the report is on page 69, estimated cost of $75,000. This is to be funded from the Building Betterment Reserve. And this is for eave trough repairs and replacement, door replacement, washroom repairs and improvements, and exterior pedestrian route. That is the end of the recreation and culture projects, and we'll move on to protection services. The first project here is the rescue vehicle, and the project reports on page 73 with a cost of $135,000 managed by the fire chief. And this is funded from a transfer to fire capital included in the operating budget reviewed on January the 19th. And this is the purchase of a utility rescue vehicle for the Seamerville station. And it's recommended by the Perth East Fire Joint Advisory Committee via motion PEFD 2007. Next is the bunker gear, hydrants, furniture, and fixtures. The reports for this are from page 75 to page 83. Total project of $74,600 and funded from a revenue fund transfer that was in the operating budget reviewed on January 19th. And this is for small equipment for $44,200, bunker gear for $12,000 plus SCBA bottles, $9,500, and radios, $22,700. Station furniture and fixtures are $24,000 or $8,000 per station. The hydrants, $6,400 allocated for hydrants if necessary. Next, we have the Shakespeare Station building improvements, and that project is report is on page 83, and total cost is estimated at $43,500. And this is funded from transfer to fire capital, which is included in the operating budget on January 19th. As council is aware, we have done a building condition assessment review, and that was completed in 2020. We are still awaiting the final reports on all of our buildings from the consultant, but we have received some, and a report will be going to council in the future outlining the results of this report. And the potential projects for 2021 for the Shakespeare Station include roof inspection and ice dam installation, emergency power generator auto switch, and starter and window replacement. The next project for the fire is at the Milverton Station. This is parking lot asphalt top coat. Project report on page 85, and the estimated costs are $34,500, funded from a revenue fund transferred in the operations plan. And this project is a top coat of asphalt for the parking lot and emergency access route. It includes the parking lot line design and painting, and the project is in coordination with the Public Works paving of Yost Court. So that is all of our protective services projects. If there's no questions, we'll move on to transportation services capital projects. And the first project there is building and equipment projects. And those project reports you will find on page 87 to 92 and page 95 to 98. The total project cost is estimated at $414,500 and managed by our Public Works manager. The funding for this is from the revenue fund, and that was included in the operations plan in January. The project description is as follows. We have a pickup truck replacement for M10. That's the number on the vehicle, and it's $85,000. We have a roadside mower at $16,000, a wheel loader with snow blade at $255,000. We have used coverall wood and seasonal equipment storage structure at $45,000, and forklift and welder at $13,500. Next, we have a GIS road and sidewalk assessment. That project report is on page 93. The project is estimated at $49,506, and it will be managed by our Public Works Manager. The funding for this project is $40,505, and that is an approved grant from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities under their Asset Management Plan stream. We are funding the rest, $9,001, from a transfer from the Public Works Reserve, and this was included in the operating budget that was reviewed in January. And my apologies, that's not from the Public Works Reserve, that's from a transfer from the Revenue Fund. The project description for this is the road and sidewalk network assessment using automated field data collection and software integration, recording an optical 3D camera view of assets. That is for our asset management plan. Next project is on Road 112. Reports on page 99, and the cost for this project is estimated at $112,600, managed by our Public Works Manager. And this is it will be funded from a transfer from the Revenue Fund that was in the operations plan in January. And this is paving from Perth Road 26 South to Oxford Perth boundary. The next is our federal gas tax project, and that's line 67. The project reports on page 101 with a total project cost of $608,100, managed by the Public Works Manager. We'll receive $388,860 from the federal gas tax, and the balance of $219,241 is a transfer from the Revenue Fund. And this project is rural paving of line 67 between Perth Road 131 and Road 116, and 350 meters south on Road 116 to Stricker Line. The next project is Road 140 with the report on page 104. This project is estimated at $500,000, managed by Public Works Manager. And we have a portion of the project to be funded by North Perth, and that's $250,000, and the balance is from the Revenue Fund transfer of $250,000, which is Perthy's share. This is phase 7 of the boundary road reconstruction from line 71 southerly. Next project is crack sealing, and with the report on page 106, estimated $50,000, and it's funded from a Revenue Fund transfer. And this is crack seal for various road sections, and this is to preserve the condition. Next, we have line 33. That project reports on page 108. We've estimated this project at $154,500, and we are proposing to fund this from the OCIF grant reserve. And this project is line 33 road surface upgrade from Perth Road 107 westerly to Oxford, Perth County.
Deputy Mayor McDermott has a question, Rhonda.
Go ahead, Hugh.
Maybe it would be better later on. I was just going to ask if that would be something that we should look at the county with to have that made a county road. If we have a Perth East Road feeding into a county road, I'm not exactly sure how well that'll work, but that can be a question for later on if Wes is going to talk.
Actually, managers can answer the questions during the PowerPoints, probably best. Address them now.
Can you hear me okay?
Okay, Wes, can you comment on that?
Okay? Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. That can be a conversation going forward. As you know, we do have other roads like that. Line 37, we changed it with the county back a few years ago. And line 36 is the same way. It goes from a township road to a county road as well. So it's not unusual that this does happen, but that can definitely be a conversation if we get into higher traffic numbers and that type of thing.
Thank you.
Counselor Matheson also has a question.
Okay, Jeremy?
Couldn't find my cursor there on my mouse. Wes, line 67 from 131 to 116. Is there a lot of reconstruction that has to happen on 67 between 121 and 116, or is that already been done? It just always seems to me like kind of a narrow road that with a big hill there and that bridge. So I'm just curious if that's, if there's a lot of reconstruction to go on there, or what the situation is there.
That was done in 2020. That hill has been cut down. We took 10 feet out of that hill. So that's been done.
Okay, thanks, Wes.
Okay, Rhonda, you should be able to keep going.
Okay. Line 83, this project reports on page 110, estimated cost of $312,000, and that's funded from the revenue fund. And that one is line 83, Hessam West Semi-Urban Road Reconstruction. Next, we have bridge and culverts, and project reports are page 112 to 115. Total estimate of $55,384. We have $30,000 to be funded from the bridge reserve, and $23,384 from the Public Works Capital Revenue Fund. And that project description is an annual allocation for culverts and flood pipes, and that's $23,384. And then there's guardrail installation at approaches to bridge structures and horizontal road hazards with an estimate of $30,000. Next, we have storm sewer projects on page 116, estimated at $28,000, and that's funded from Public Works reserves. And the project description here is to improve Shakespeare storm sewer, Thompson, Fraser, and Galt Street, and to facilitate the proposed sidewalk construction in 2021. Next, we have Yost Court surface paving with the report on page 118, estimated at $22,000 and funded from the revenue fund transfer. This is the Arena Drive redevelopment project, Yost Court service asphalt paving, and as we mentioned earlier, it will be a joint project or in coordination with the fire hall paving as well at the Milverton station. Next, we have sign and sidewalks, and the report's on page 120 with an estimate of $91,925. We have $55,681 coming from Public Works Reserve, with a balance of $36,244 coming from the Revenue Fund. And this is sidewalks we have Shakespeare sidewalk design, sidewalk extension, and annual sidewalk replacement, an estimate of $80,234. And then we have the annual sign allocation for roadside signs. There is no project report for that. That's an annual allocation, and that's $11,691. So that's it for transportation, and we'll move on to general environment. Okay, so now we have landfills, and that's on page 122 and 124, and the cost is $48,000, and that's to be funded from the landfill asset reserve. And this is for the Ellis landfill survey. There's a closure plan and survey required of $8,000. And the Southeast Hope landfill, 6 front end transfer bins, and that's estimated at $40,000. Next is community improvement plan project on page 126. And the project costs for this are estimated at $10,000, managed by the CAO, and that's a modernization grant project. And this is to prepare the community improvement plan in partnership with Perth County and potential RED funding, RED funding. And the plan aims at rehabilitating and revitalizing targeted areas. We reduced this project from the previous modernization grant allocation based on the fact that it will now be hopefully a shared project, and we will find efficiencies and hopefully get a grant for that. Next, we have cemetery, tombstone, and monument realignment, and that's on page 128, estimated at $15,000 to be funded from the corporate reserve. And this is the Knox Wesley United Church Cemetery, and it's to realign the tombstones and the monuments. Wesley, not Wellesley.
Counselor Hurlick has a question.
I'm just curious there with the tombstone alignment. That's something you keep an eye on, Wes, and monitor as the boys go around on the cruise, is it? And then you just kind of pull the plug eventually when you see enough. How do you go about determining when you should do that?
We've been doing probably $5,000 or $6,000 every year for the last few years. Last year we missed was an oversight on my part. It wasn't in the budget, so that's why the number's larger this year.
I see. And there's a company you just hire in, one of the people, and they do a day.
That's right.
Okay.
Next, we have environment projects. This is our water and wastewater capital project. First one is the Shakespeare Water Arsenic Treatment, and the project report is on page 130. Estimated cost of $501,000. Recommended funding from the OCIF Formula Funding Reserve. And this is the arsenic treatment project to meet the Environment Conservation and Parks arsenic parameter. It includes a Class EA study, pilot testing, design approvals, and potential construction installation of treatment equipment. OCIF may be used for asset management planning or capital projects for core infrastructure. Perth East banked OCIF funds for a large project, and it must be used within 5 years. Next, we have the Festoso water system upgrade, and that report is on page 132. Estimated cost of $157,500, and that's to be funded from the water reserve. And this project is to upgrade the former Festoso water distribution system to meet current municipal standards, system construction, materials, and appropriate isolation valves. It includes public consultation and consideration of service connection arrangements. Next project is the sludge removal from the Milverton Wastewater Treatment Facility. Project report is on page 134 with an estimate of $105,000 to be funded from the wastewater reserve. And this project is remove and land apply sludge from settling in cells S1. The depth of sludge in cell is nearing maximum levels in certain areas. So that's it for the specific projects that are included in our capital plan. And I'll just outline some general information on the levy at this point. Okay, so the 2021 draft budget with changes since the January meeting result in a 0.832% levy, so it's below 1%. The levy has reduced by $20,421 since the January 19th meeting, as outlined in the slide number 4. And this is just a suggestion or an option for council to consider, but council may consider returning a part of the transfer to the community investment reserve rather than pausing 100%. A transfer of $20,000 results in a 1.062% corporate levy increase versus the 0.832% you see at this point. If you consider this will alleviate the spikes in the 22 budget if the full transfer resumes. The transfer to the Community Investment Reserve was $52,928 in 2020, and that's just for your information. The next point is the county budget has passed, so we're waiting on approval levy and tax rates bylaw, but we have the information to give you tonight. The education rates are passed as well, so we're not waiting on either the county or the education. And just for your information, the 2020 year-end surplus or deficit number is not available yet. Our audit is scheduled for the first 2 weeks in April. Next is a slide just to show you the levy change at a glance. This is the change from last year. On the left-hand side, it shows you your provincial contribution to the levy change, and the right-hand side is the municipal. This shows that we saw a benefit of $39,800 for the increase in funding. We have a OPP increase of $9,221 and a conservation authority increase of $5,183. So the total provincial share of the levy change is $25,396 to the good. That's a credit for us. The municipal share is our corporate insurance of $38,988. The contract and salary plan contributes $30,276, and the balance of $28,386 is CPI related, and the total township share is $97,650. So the total levy increase of $72,254 is explained above. And here are just some general slides that may help you or the public to read the budget and interpret what it means. So what is my tax bill on $100,000 assessment compared to last year? These show the different property types and show you the different changes. I've included this year the county and the education as well, since we have the rates available. So it shows you the whole picture on your tax bill. So on residential, you'll see Perth East change of $535, county $719, education stays the same for a total tax change of $1253. It's easier to explain this year as well because we don't have a reassessment, so there's no shifts in assessment. It's plain tax rates. So it's easier to explain, but we still want our reassessment done. Next, we have farmland, and the change there is $1.34 for Perth East, $1.80 for the county, and $0 for education, for a total of $313. Next, on commercial property, it's $667 for Perth East, $896 for county, and a reduction of $100 on the taxes for education for a better position of $84.37. Industrial increase for Perth East at $10.53, county $14.15, reduction in education of $370 for a reduction of $345.32. Next, what tax dollars are raised on $100,000 of property assessment per property class? This table here, I think, helps explain to the public the effect of weighted assessment. So if you have $100,000 in a different type of property class, you can see the difference here. So I'll just read the final total here on each class. We have residential, we would collect on the 3 tiers, $866. On farmland, we would collect $216. On commercial, we would collect $1,769. In industrial, we would collect $2,284. The next few slides are just going to demonstrate on typical properties what you would see on your tax bill compared to last year. So the first example is a typical single family home. Assessment hasn't changed, so that's easy enough. The Perth East share, the county share, and the education share are demonstrated. So at the end, the entire tax bill in 2020 was $2,510 on a typical home, and this year it'll be $2,547 for a difference of $37 or 1.47% for a weekly cost of 71 cents. Next, we have a typical standard industrial property with assessment of $360,000. The 2020 bill would have been $9,466.82, with the 2021 bill being $8,223.67, and that is the benefit of the education portion. The tax bill change to the good is $1,243, change to the good of 13.13%, savings of $23.91 weekly. Next, we have the typical farmhouse that is assessed at $174,500, and the entire tax bill in 2020 was $1,489. 2021 would be $1,511 for a total tax bill change of $21 or 1.47 cents. I didn't calculate a weekly effect there. Next, we have the typical farmland, and that assessment is $1,441,000. 2020 bill was $3,075 versus $3,120 in 2021 for a change of $45.15 or 1.47% or 87 cents a week. Next, we have a typical small retail commercial property, and that typical assessment is $184,000. The tax bill in 2020 would have been $3,410 versus $3,255 in 2021, with a tax bill credit of $155 or 4.55% or $2.99 a week. Is that the end, Wendy? I should have had a slide that said the end, so that is the end. So any questions?
Okay, any questions for Rhonda? Wendy? I loved your little cartoons that you put on your slide presentation. They were great.
Good.
Okay. Seeing no questions, we do have a lot of resolutions here to go through for all the reports that we've just had. So bear with me as we do them. So the first resolution is for the capital budget summary and the capital budget detail. The items 7.2.1 to 7.2.2 as set out in budget reports for the February 25th, 2021 Budget Advisory Committee be received for information. So we need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Hugh, second by Jerry. All in favor? Carried. Okay, the next item we have is Department Capital Project Reports. The Budget Advisory Committee received the following general government capital budget reports for information. I'm not going to read the numbers. This is under 7.3.1. We have Asset Management Project, Building Betterment Modernization Grant, Administrative Building HVAC, Upgrades to Council Chambers, Strategic Plan, Joint Greenhouse Gas Reduction, Telephone System, Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, Computer Network System Replacement, Accounting Software Upgrades, HR Project, Records Management Project, and that pre-budget approval be given to the accounting software upgrades due at the time, restrictions and scheduling. Do we have a mover and a seconder for those? Moved by Jeremy, second by Andrew. All in favor? Carried. Okay, the next items we have are the Budget Advisory Committee received the following Recreation and Community Services reports for information. This is under 7.3.2.1. We have the arena spectator stand railing. We have a vehicle, the Perk Park and Trail, and the Newton Park upgrades. Moved by Jeremy, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Okay, next we have that the Budget Advisory Committee received the following protection services reports for information, and this is under 7.3.3. Under the fire department, we have the Stephenville Rescue Truck, the Central Furniture and Fixtures, Milverton Furniture and Fixtures, Shakespeare Furniture and Fixtures, Stephenville Furniture and Fixtures, Shakespeare Building Improvements, and Milverton Parking Lot Paving. Moved by Andrew, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Okay, then we have that the Budget Advisory Committee received the following transportation services reports for information. And this is under 7.3.4 and it's public works, the pickup truck, the roadside mower, the wheel loader with snow blade, the geographical information system implementation, the coverall wood storage, the welder and the forklift, road 112, line 67, Road 140, crack ceiling, line 33, line 83, culverts, general bridges, storm sewer, arena drive components, and sidewalks. Moved by Jerry, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. That the Budget Advisory Committee receive the following environmental services reports for information, and this is under 7.3.5.1. We have under Public Works, we have the Ellis Landfill Property Survey, and we have the Southeast Hope Landfill Transfer Station. So we have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Daryl, second by Jeremy. All in favor? Carried. That the Budget Advisory Committee receive the following planning and development services reports for information, and this is under 7.3.6 and it's economic development. Moved by Amanda and second by Daryl. All in favor? Carried. And we have the Budget Advisory Committee receive the following health and cultural services reports for information. This is under 7.3.7 and it's a cemeteries, tombstone, and monument realigning. Moved by Andrew, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Okay, that the Budget Advisory Committee receive the following environmental water services reports for information. This is under 7.3.8. We have the Shakespeare water treatment and the upgrade to the former Festoso water distribution system. A mover and a seconder, moved by Jeremy, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. The Budget Advisory Committee received the following environmental wastewater services reports for information, and this is under 7.3.9, and it's the Milverton Lagoon. So a mover and a seconder, moved by Jerry, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Okay. All right, so now we are at capital forecast reports. So do we want to do that next?
Okay, the first capital forecast report is for the fire department, and it's the motor vehicle forecast report. So if there's any questions on that, Fire Chief Hunter can answer them for you.
Okay, anyone have any questions on any of that? The fire vehicle forecast? No, okay. Seeing no questions, we'll move to the Recreation and Community Capital Project forecast. Any questions on any of them? No questions, okay. Then we'll move to the PERC HVAC forecast. We're on page 139. Any questions on any of that? Nope, okay. Then we move to Public Works motor vehicle forecast. No questions. Public Works equipment forecast. Nope. Okay. Public Works road forecast report. We're on page 142 now. Okay. Then we will move to Public Works bridge forecast. No. Okay. Public Works sewer equipment forecast. Public Works Water Vehicle Forecast. We're on page 144 now. Okay, then we'll move to Building Capital Forecast. And last, we have Library Capital Forecast. No questions in any of them? Okay, so then we have a motion that the Budget Advisory Committee receive the following capital forecast report dated February 25th, 2021 for information. And that was under 7.4, and it's Fire Department Motor Vehicle Forecast Report, Recreation and Community Services Capital Project Forecast, PERC HVAC, Public Works Motor Vehicle, Public Works Equipment, Public Works Road, Public Works Bridge, Public Works Sewer Equipment, Public Works Water Vehicle, Building Capital, and Library Capital. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Amanda, second by Jeremy. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so Rhonda, you need to help me out in this one. The draft budget reviewed at February 25th Budget Advisory Meeting results in a levy increase of?
That is 0.832% unless council wishes to consider any changes prior to making that motion.
Can you say that last part again? Sorry.
It's 0.832% unless council wishes to make any further amendments before passing that motion.
Okay. Anyone have anything they wanted? Andrew?
I'm surprised I'm saying this, but we normally try to keep a CPI level. Is that going to hurt us by not collecting that CPI this year? Or am I understanding our partner process right now? Just a question.
Yes, you may be. I would suggest that you may consider putting part of the transfer back to the community investment reserve, just for the fact that we pause it 100% to keep the tax rate at CPI. But next year we'll have, I would assume you will be considering to put it back in, so there will be a spike next year. So if you want to either put it all back in or phase it back in, that may be something you wish to consider as things change, as the budget process progresses.
Okay, and what would CPI be at this year?
I'm just going to go to my little table. Okay. So to get it right at CPI, you could add on 42,170. Which is 1.317, to answer your question of CPI rate is. Sorry.
Okay, anyone else want to comment on that? Jerry?
So yeah, going back to the treasurer's slide on page 150, perhaps we would kind of compromise and do the 20,000 instead of 40, whatever number you said. Rhonda, do the 20,000 to the community investment reserve, and then it would put us back to the 1.062.
That's correct.
Okay, anyone else? No? Okay, so who wants to move a motion to do what? Jeremy?
I'll move what Jerry just suggested and transfer the 20,000 into the community investment. Put us at 1.062.
1.062. Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Amanda? Okay, so that the draft budget reviewed at the February 25th Budget Advisory Committee meeting results in a levy increase of 1.062%. Correct? It's understood the 20,000 will go back, or do we need that in the motion as well? Rhonda, can you help me out with that?
I'm sorry, yes, I would suggest that you make that a motion, Ashley, if you don't mind.
Yeah, we should have in the motion to move the 20,000 over to that account that Rhonda's recommended.
Okay, so the 20,000 goes to the
Community
account.
Reserve.
Pardon?
Community Investment Reserve, sorry.
Community Investment Reserve. Okay. Okay, so is that clear? So the levy increase is 1.062% and 20,000 of that will go to the Community Investment Reserve. Okay, so that's been moved by Jeremy, second by Amanda. All in favor of that? Carried. Okay, great. So we have, we're down to number 8 now, no correspondence. We do have a need for a closed session, so with your permission, we'll move it down to below announcements. Is there any notice of motions? Any new business? Any announcements? I do want to thank, I want to thank all of staff for the great work that they've done on this budget. I remember telling Rhonda one time that I wanted to keep it below the cost of living, and I was very impressed when it came in like that. So I can't thank all of you enough. I can't thank Rhonda and her team. I know, and Wendy, that I know they've worked hours and hours on this to get it. I know all of you have worked a lot of hours to get this for council, and we can't thank you enough for all you've done, because it's great to see where we're at. So thanks again. And if there's nothing else, I think we'll take a half-a-minute recess here, and we'll say goodbye to most of you. And there's a few of us that need to go into a